very first Helene Recovery meeting, and many of you all were here at that time. And we're gathered here today to identify what our impact areas are and what we need the most. We identified top priorities, and we set our course for a long journey ahead. 2 months ago, we convened again in time to ensure the progress we've made align with our priorities. That's what we did. We had a critical conversation that guided us and gave us our roadmap to recovery. Today, we meet again, and we must plan to do what? Hear updates from our legislators. We have a wonderful governor here. Revisit the recovery priorities. Discuss what impact areas need the most, and more and more. I thank you all for taking the time for being here. Many of you all had very busy schedules, but you're here today, and we really do appreciate that. We now know our journey has begun, and it's only begun, but we truly know that we can work together to make things better. It is now my distinct honor, my great honor, to introduce a very, very special guest. He's very busy, but our governor, Josh Stein, is with us today. Governor, it was not in my notes that they were going to stand and applaud for you, but I'm glad they did. So, but ladies and gentlemen, Governor Stein was first sworn in earlier this year as North Carolina's 76th governor. And from day one, he's made it clear that recovery from Hurricane Helene will be one of his top priorities, and he's demonstrated that. Today, he has joined us and will share the progress of the recovery efforts. Please join me in welcoming our great governor, Josh Stein.
Thank you, it's very nice. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So, I don't know, am I the chicken, the pig, the poisonous snake? I don't know where I am in that story, but it is good to be with you all. Good to be in a room full of people with big hearts. Representative Turner, good to see you, my friend. I want to thank all the county board chairs, the county commissioners, the county managers, the mayors, the city councilors, the city managers, the local government staff who are gathered here today. It does not matter what office you hold or what position you serve in, you're here for the same reason, which is that you care deeply about your constituents and you want to make sure that we do everything in our power to help the people of West North Carolina get back up on their feet. And I want to thank you for that. Y'all are on the front lines of what people need. You're where people go to when they need help. And you've done an incredible job getting people the services, the support that they need. I know you all are working hard. You've been doing it for over 6 months now. 6 months anniversary was just a couple weeks ago. And I know it's exhausting. And I know that when you raised your hand to serve your community, you had no idea what you were signing up for. But I'm so glad that you have, and I just encourage you to keep it up. It's incredibly appreciated what you're doing. And we in the state, I say our federal representatives are here as well, we at the state want to do everything we can to support you. On my first full day in office, I traveled out to West North Carolina here in Asheville to sign 5 executive orders to cut red tape to make it easier for people to get back on their feet. I have been back 11 times since then, including today, which is my 100th day in office. But it is not about how many times we visit. It's about the work ahead. It's about tackling that work and doing it to the best of our ability. I am committed to being a strong partner to you as we get the work that we need to get done. As I mentioned, 2 weeks ago, we passed the 6-month anniversary since Hurricane Helene devastated
other thing that the council mentioned that I neglected to bring up earlier, only four people in the world knew about these proffers. That's not true. I mean, Hopkins and EJAC both had their attorneys. We never asked for an NDA. We never told anybody to keep it quiet. I have interviewed gang member witnesses before where their safety would be in danger if things got out, if they didn't testify. That's not the case here, Judge. And I keep bringing this up, the difference of what we commonly refer to as proffer, just because I think I want the court to contextualize what actually happened. I just want the court to be aware of that. And the only aspect on duty I want to bring up is that essential part of duty is foreseeability, which was instructed to the jury. That was part of the jury instruction, so that's all on that part, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple things. It's always difficult because I can never read my own handwriting. But when Mr. Key stands before Your Honor and says that these proffer agreements were identified as not discoverable, frankly, Your Honor, that's terrifying. It's terrifying to think about potentially how many other cases they haven't disclosed similar agreements. It's terrifying that a prosecution team with 83 years of experience doesn't know that they have to disclose this under Brady.
General Assembly a second Helene budget focused on the ongoing housing needs, support for small businesses, revenue replacement for local governments, and desperately needed wildfire prevention efforts. I've heard from a number of members in the General Assembly that they share the same conviction that the work that we did last month, that $524 million, it is only the beginning. And I look forward to working with the General Assembly to get another Helene package enacted. And as we continue our efforts at the state level, we also have to continue pushing the federal government to provide aid that the states simply cannot afford. Understand, state budget's $34 billion total. Damage is $60 billion. We do not have enough money in the state of North Carolina. You all do not have enough money in the region of Western North Carolina to deal with this crisis alone. And we've never asked communities that experience disasters of this magnitude to do it alone. The federal government is supposed to be there for us. They need to do substantially more. In February, I traveled to Washington, D.C. and met with our senators and some representatives and put in a request of $19 billion, $11.5 billion in new appropriations, $7.5 billion of allocations of previously appropriated dollars. 2 weeks ago, on March 26th, we submitted to HUD our action plan. This is to get our share of an allocation of previously appropriated money. It's $1.6 billion, a little more than that to the state. City of Asheville gets a little over $200,000, the rest goes to the state. North Carolina was the first state impacted by Hurricane Helene to submit its action plan. In fact, in the last decade, after a major hurricane, no state has been faster in submitting its action plan. We want to get those dollars, and we want them immediately. We want to expand the housing construction that we intend to start this summer with the state money. The dollars will help make a timeline of getting actual hammers on nails by the end of this summer a possibility, which, to our knowledge, there's never been a state that has received federal money that has been able to start home reconstruction within a year of that storm. The federal government still has to do so much more. No matter what holds the future for FEMA or other programs, the one thing that remains true is we need federal support. We cannot do it alone. We need their help. As we work together to advocate for increased investment, I'm also working with state leaders to make sure that we put our dollars to work in the region as quickly and as effectively as possible. And let's look at some of the milestones. More than 4,800 families are currently receiving temporary housing support. More than 1,300 roads have been repaired and reopened by crews and contractors of the North Carolina Department of Transportation, including, as of March 1st, I-40, 2 lanes, one in each direction, connecting us back to Tennessee. More locally, just a week ago, the Swananoa River Road was reopened. More than 7.4 million cubic yards of debris has been cleared, including 5.3 million cubic yards of debris from public rights-of-way. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of debris. And I got a number of my people here, and it's a little more than I usually have when I travel. I don't have all of these guys. But they came up yesterday and spent the afternoon cleaning the Swananoa River, and I think they did 15 trash bags full. So thank you guys for what you did. Cleaning debris helps first responders save lives and allows people to safely travel within their communities. It also creates a clean slate from which people can rebuild. Waterway debris removal continues this spring, and we're aiming to complete the removal of eligible private and commercial property collections by July. I'm grateful for the legislature's appropriation of $20 million for unmet debris removal needs that they did in March, and we're now working to put those funds to use here in Western North Carolina. That's not all. 97% of wastewater systems have been restored. Every water system is in operation, 92% of them normally. We've seen more than 160 million of SBA loans already reach the hands of North Carolina home and business owners. We've launched our private roads and bridges program so that folks can apply for state funding to repair the roads and bridges that make it possible for them to access their homes. It will help residents and emergency vehicles get to where they need to go more easily. In January, I announced that our state would be partnering with the Dogwood Philanthropic Trust and the Duke Endowment to provide grants to small business owners. I was meeting with Jack Cecil from Biltmore earlier this morning. Dogwood has been an incredible partner. $35 million in small business grants have been allocated to more than 1,000 business owners, helping to keep their doors open so that when the summer tourists come, they can serve them and get back up on their feet. And if you are hearing from your small business leaders, I need you to reach out to every one of your state representatives, House and Senate members, because they have not appropriated money for this purpose. And we need their help in the next round of appropriations. Because if they give us business support a year from now, it's going to be too late. We need these businesses that are struggling to survive today so that they can serve customers tomorrow. Final word on a broader issue is I want to thank all of you for the work that you did to help North Carolina achieve Medicaid expansion 2 years ago. An incredible accomplishment on a bipartisan basis that has been life-changing for 650,000 of our neighbors. We just crossed that threshold last week. Since the storm, 21,000 families have subscribed to Medicaid. All of that is at risk with the budget proposal that the U.S. House passed yesterday. Your your federal representation, House and Senate, needs to hear from you about how devastating this will be to your people, to your hospitals. Rural residents disproportionately take advantage of Medicaid because they don't earn enough to get it on the open market. We need your help defending people's health care and our health care system. We want to support rural hospitals. We do not want any more to close their doors. Since 2010, North Carolina is among the states with the highest number of closed rural hospitals. We cannot afford any more. Your communities no community can thrive without a hospital or access to one nearby. We understand that we have a lot of work ahead of us. We got so much more work to do. But I'm proud of how hard everyone has been working and how collaboratively we have been working. It's been an all-hands-on-deck effort. I want to thank the members of my Western North Carolina Advisory Committee. I see a number of you here today. They have provided help in our putting together that action plan that we've submitted to HUD, and they just share a useful perspective on the daily needs of the people of West North Carolina. And I was just talking with Kevin Leonard earlier, and what I hope out of this 2 or 3 day session that you all have is you come up with a list of what your needs are today so that it can inform our work with the General Assembly to make sure that we're being responsive to the needs of our counties and cities. I want to thank the state agencies that are working so hard and in a coordinated fashion to speed up our recovery efforts. Grow NC, the Governor's Recovery Office for Western North Carolina, in my office, headed by Matt Calabria, who, by the way, is a former county commissioner from Wake County. They have been doing a great job ensuring that we're working across state agencies, all in concert toward the same end. And I want to thank you, our municipal and county government leaders. You stepped up immediately to help your residents get through the next day, to get through the next week, to get through the next month. It's been truly inspiring. And I know that there has been an issue of frustration with FEMA reimbursements on expenses that you all incurred that are reimbursable. I've been meeting with acting FEMA Administrator Cameron Hamilton on a regular cadence to try to get these funds moving. And we're working with our federal delegation to try to get these funds moving. And I'm optimistic it will happen. I'm glad that FEMA is here today. I've heard from local governments about work that you all have done, and you're waiting for weeks and weeks to get reimbursed, and you have cash flow needs. We all know that. My first budget request to the General Assembly included revenue replacement grants for local governments because we know how sorely needed cash is to your communities. And we will keep pushing for them in my next appropriation request as well. Another top of mind priority for local governments in Western North Carolina is the ongoing threats of wildfire. I know we all liked that rain last night. Polk, Henderson, Swain, Buncombe, Transylvania counties in recent weeks have been dealing with some awful wildfires. At one point, it was the most threatening wildfire in the entire country. I had declared a state of emergency a couple weeks ago to rapidly mobilize a cross-agency response to those fires, and I'm incredibly grateful to the firefighters, the county and city officials, the forestry, NC Forestry folks, who worked so hard to get those fires back under control. But we can't just react and only put out fires. We have to try to work to prevent them. We have to do all that we can get them from starting in the first place and spreading in our communities. That means investing more in debris removal and land and waterway rehabilitation so we can reduce the risk of wildfires. We also have to prepare for future flooding by prioritizing resilience in our floodplains and protecting our wetlands, which help absorb water flow. The actions we take now can save us tremendous loss and heartbreak in the future. Above all, we need to know and understand what it means to truly rebuild. We have to have a holistic understanding of what it takes for communities to thrive. If people don't have homes, they won't rebuild their lives here. So we have to get people back in housing. If people don't have jobs, they won't stay here. So we have to support small businesses. If people don't have reliable internet or utilities, they will not rebuild here. So we must expand broadband and think about how we can make our communication systems more resilient. Where we go from here directly impacts whether people stay here. County commissioners have been a strong and important partner to me throughout my time in public service. Just look at what we were able to accomplish together to hold the opioid manufacturers accountable so that we could tackle the opioid addiction crisis. Our partnership helped North Carolina become a national leader and model, and you all are putting the fruits of that collective effort to work in your communities as we speak, saving lives and improving health. So I know that we can come together to do hard and important things because we have done that in the past. Let's do that together as we rebuild Western North Carolina. Let's come together. Let's keep working. Let's build a safer, stronger, and more resilient Western North Carolina. Thank you all for what you do for your constituents.
Yeah, I was right up there. What? I'm gonna set this.
Yeah, I saw that.
What are we doing? What do you want me to set the mic up on the stand? What do you think's best? He's doing live. Yeah. Do you have live?
Is that one off?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it off. Go ahead. Hey, Governor, can I get you one more live?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Let's have where my capacity is full. Okay, great. Good to be with you all. Thanks for coming out.
On your first day in office, you were in Asheville.
Yep.
You acknowledged that you had some concern that federal and state lawmakers wouldn't meet the needs of Western North Carolina, federal funding needs. What's your level of concern now? Higher, lower, same?
The same. There has been support from the federal government. There has been support from the state government. So I do not want to imply they've done nothing, but the scale of the need is so vast. When you have a $60 billion storm, it's going to take substantial investment. The state needs to continue to step up. The federal government needs to continue to step up. Look, the people of Western North Carolina are there for each other. They've been there for each other from the very beginning. It's time for their governments to do the same thing.
What is the importance, you've been here multiple times, as you mentioned, but to have county commissioners from across the state, some of them probably being here themselves for the first time.
Yeah.
What does this update mean in a scope of giving them that perspective of the updates that we've heard before? But what's it mean to have everybody here and the importance of that?
The county commissioners, mayors, city council members, they are on the ground floor. I mean, they are in the communities. They were themselves impacted by the storms. And so they are doing everything in their power to help folks get back on their feet. What we want them to do is to tell us what they need. What do they need from their state government? What do they need from their federal government so that we can be the partners that we know we want and should be?
Is OSBM working on a new damage and needs estimate, and is that going to take into account tariff policy, other White House policies?
No, what OSBM is working on right now is what's going to be round 2 of our appropriations request. We know what the scale of the crisis was. You know, whether it's 60 billion or 62 billion or 58 billion, that's less important than it is to get the help that we need to help folks get off the mat and back on their feet.
You said in the coming weeks you're going to submit a second proposal, a budget proposal, to the General Assembly. Can you outline some of those priorities in that budget?
Well, we know that there'll be support for small businesses because the legislature has not been there for the small business community. There'll be more money needed for housing. There will definitely be money for wildfire prevention. We want to have money to help local governments.
In terms of federal funding, what are you also asking for how much and also what's going to be?
Yeah, I went to Washington and asked for about $19 billion in federal assistance. Some of that money they've already appropriated, and we just want to make sure our state gets an allocation, our fair share. That's about $7.5 billion, and there's $11.5 billion in new funding. Funding predominantly to help with housing, but also with business and infrastructure support. The needs are just incredibly vast.
We'll take one more question from Ed, or you go.
Okay. Sorry. I'm Patricia from the Latina NC. I want to ask you about the Latino community. You have any plan to support this community in this tough time? I would say that, yeah, the Latino community has to know that they can not maybe apply for federal support. So what is the
Well, one thing about our housing programs is they tend to be focused to homeowners rather than multifamily housing. There was already a housing crunch in Western North Carolina, not enough units for all the people who needed to live here, meaning that rents were really high. So what I'm advocating for is for a lot more housing construction and housing unit construction. It could be multifamily as well. That will benefit everybody, including anyone who's in the service community, anybody who needs a good, safe accommodation.
Thank you.
All right, good to see you all. Thanks.
Yeah, it's definitely on. Yeah, I checked and made sure too. Is the battery just bad?
No, I checked the battery when it turned on.
It might have just turned off when it kind of fell.
Cell phone and social media can be incredibly damaging to young people. It ends up addicting them. Many people end up having mental health challenges, depression, anxiety. They are not good for kids. They're particularly not good for kids when it's in their classroom because it serves as an incredible distraction. We need our children's focus on what the teacher is trying to teach them so that they can learn. I did a series of town halls across the state. A number of counties, they've already adopted policies for cell phone-free schools classrooms, and it's been incredibly positive.
So here's what we'll do. You step in. As soon as there's transition, give me a baby. I'll go in, and then you go up, stick that up there, and then we can do that.
Can I go ahead and turn it on?
Yeah.
I don't want to go into transition. Let's go on this side.
Many of those plans have not worked. And some of those plans are still in process, and we're grateful for that. We have seen progress, that's for sure. But we also know there is much yet to be done. We have learned an entirely new lexicon, and we have seen letters arranged in combinations that mean things that we never thought that they would mean before. The collaboration of local government with state and federal partners has been both very beneficial and very frustrating. I've heard many people say that we need to get back to normal. I used to have that same goal, and I've used those same words, but I've changed my mind. In all honesty, for many of us, normal wasn't good to start with. We did not have a position of normalcy that was good. We entered Helene in a deficit position regarding housing and infrastructure, economic development, and emergency preparedness. We need to strive to be better than normal. That's my goal. To come ahead of this, resilience means a lot of things to different people. But for me, it means that 10 years from now, I'll be able to look back and have an idea, and our people will know that we took a tragedy of epic proportions and leveraged the efforts of so many people into something that was a model for improvement. I sat in a room the very first week after this storm with a lot of folks from FEMA, from NCEM, and some other organizations, and I heard that this disaster would rewrite the book on disaster administration and rewrite the book to improve the response of every agency in every disaster from now on. Just because that's the way it is, don't mean that's the way it's got to be. In the short term, we in Western North Carolina need houses rebuilt, private roads and bridges fully funded and rebuilt. We have millions of cubic yards of debris to be removed and processed. Infrastructure rebuilt with an eye to the future, better than it was. We need businesses of every size supporting the real money in order to survive. We need local governments giving the funding to act as agents of change in our own communities, not depending on other folks to do that for us. We lost 35 to 40% of standing timber in our part of the world, and we live in fear of the next disaster of a uncontrollable burn. We need work to get that redone. It's not a matter of if, but rather when. When we fear in Avery County that someone's going to die because an ambulance was called and they didn't have a bridge to get to that house. Or the house is going to burn down because a fire truck couldn't get there. Or if the fire truck could get there, they didn't have a water point to get water out of to fight the fire. A man named Tim Cannon just this last week had his walk-over pedestrian bridge washed away for the second time. Because he don't have a bridge to get to his house. I got a call yesterday from a lady who had filed for mitigation, was approved, and is now facing foreclosure on her house on a mortgage that she is paying or is still responsible for on a house that had 5-6 feet of water passed through it. It's no longer livable, and the tax value right now is about $8,000. She's going to lose this. She's going to be foreclosed on and ruin her credit because she has to wait 4 years for mitigation. What's wrong with this picture? We need better answers to these issues than, sorry, but government moves slow and we're doing the best we can. I had people come up on my porch and I've got to look them in the eye and say, I've done all I can. That hurts. My family's been in Avery County for about 10 generations, give or take, about 225 years. We're a strong, proud people who may have been victimized by Helene, but we're not victims. And I refuse to allow our people to claim that they are victims. Because if you're a victim, that means that you can't do anything about it. I'm committed. No one will work harder than me for the citizens of Avery County. And I believe that every person in this room that's part of local government is committed to the same thing. We appreciate all the efforts and the funding from every level, federal, state, all the NGOs and all the people that have been a part, much of which we'll never really fully understand at the local level. We know that. And most of us, by nature, will push back if we have things done to us. And sometimes we feel we have things done to us more than with us. But we will stand alongside you with grit and determination if you work with us. I'm honored to be a part of the Western North Carolina Recovery and Resiliency Partnership that works across all of our various distinctions to advocate for our citizens. Let's stand together and show the world what would happen if we were unified and had the grit to proceed and work together and emerge on the other side of this different, better than what we were. Appreciate you being here, Western North Carolina. We will be okay.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Avery County, you got a bold truth teller. Normal wasn't good enough to begin. That's an ouch moment of the message we need to hear. Thank you so much. Well, I told you this is going to be a working session, and I'm pleased now to tee up our next session where we'll hear status updates on the state of recovery efforts. I know we're all anxious to hear how things are going outside of our own particular narrow view in our own particular neighborhood. So joining us today, firstly, is Don Campbell, Chief of Staff at the North Carolina Emergency Management He's no stranger to local government and the challenges we faced prior to taking on his current role. Don most recently served as the director of the Guilford County Emergency Management in Greensboro and was with the agency for 22 years. He has a diverse background in emergency services, training and response, including hazardous materials, incident management, EMS response, incident command, project management, program management, WEB EOC administrator, and community emergency preparedness. We'll also have Emily Ganji, the Chief Deputy Director for GROW NC. Emily is a native of Western North Carolina, and prior to joining the GROW NC team, she served as Policy Director for the North Carolina Department of Information Technology. She has previously served in strategic policy roles at the UNC School of Government and the North Carolina Community College system, including time as Vice President at Western Piedmont Community College. And finally, Greg Howard is joining us from FEMA, who is no stranger here. He is a federal coordinating officer for Hurricane Helene, and he's been with FEMA since 2019. Prior to that, he had a long career in emergency management in Alabama at both the county and state level. We're so grateful that Brett is here with us again today. So with that, friend, I'm going to invite our presenters to come on up and give us some updates.
Good morning. It is a pleasure to be back in front of you for my third update to this amazing group of people. And I just first want to start with saying thank you to Commissioner Aldridge. Your words are exceptionally important and bring to bear the most important mission that we have here, which is to find better ways to move through the traditional recovery process to make sure that we're still focused on moving it as fast as we possibly can. On behalf of Secretary Buffalo and Director Ray, thank you for all of your continued partnership for everyone here in the room. We recognize many faces, many numbers on speed dial both ways, and we appreciate the ongoing dialogue of where we seem to be making progress and where we have opportunities to continue to push the paradigm of how recovery has traditionally been done and how we want it to be done moving forward. So my opportunity this morning is to give a few updates on a couple key elements, but also give just a minute or two for questions that you may have that have not trickled to us yet through many of your phone calls, text messages, or liaisons. When I first spoke in front of this group, we were just starting to action contracts to do debris. And as Governor Stein mentioned, we have made progress in the debris space. We've learned a few things. As we've come to just about finish right-of-way debris removal, we've identified that right-of-way debris removal is not the same in the mountains as it is in the rest of our country. You knew that before this event transpired. You knew that ahead of time, and we've been working with our contractors who have been working with their dealers to build new devices and to build new processes to make that process happen faster. We also recognize it has not happened nearly as fast as we would have liked it to, but over 6.4 million cubic yards of debris has been moved out of the right-of-ways, and we're just about complete with the right-of-way debris mission. We continue to move into waterway debris, and as we have seen with waterway debris, we knew it was going to be a challenging process to assess those locations, but as we have found, as our teams have gotten into the water, there is way more debris than we originally thought. You too shared that information 5 months ago and had our team starting to build new processes and work with FEMA to figure out how do we meet the needs of our environmental issues before it became a challenge. And so we now are finishing right-of-way and moving into waterway with haste, and we're seeing significant progress in that with over 2.9 million cubic yards already cleared in waterways, but a lot more to go. And so we know that we're going to continue with our foot on the gas, trying to be as creative as we possibly can for that process. And for the first time in North Carolina's history, we're taking private property debris removal and moving through that process. And as of today, we already have 1,556 parcels that are cleared. This is a program that North Carolina has never had the pleasure of implementing, but you told us early on this was a need, and we worked with FEMA to make sure that we got it activated so that we could start that process. Slowly but surely, debris is being moved in Western North Carolina. We recognize there are still challenges that we need to face. And so 2 items that I think are important today for me to share with you is, one, OSBM is going to be sending out a survey to all of our local communities to figure out what are the unmet needs in the debris space for the $20 million allocation that they received in the House bill a few weeks ago, to make sure that we're programming those $20 million for the unmet needs that are going to do the most good in your jurisdictions. So be on the lookout for that survey. We will make sure to amplify it when it comes out. We want to make sure that we can target the needs and not necessarily duplicate what's already being paid for by other federal programs. Finally, on the other side of debris is the area of costs. And we recognize that cost is the most challenging piece of this process when it comes to what local governments are having to put out as a reimbursement process. A few weeks ago, we had to take a pause and look at what additional missions were being sent to Army Corps of Engineers because the 100% cost share for the federal government expired a few weeks ago, and we needed to make sure that we were doing things in the most cost-effective manner. As we continue to do that, we also continue to hear what you're saying, which is we appreciate the desire to be cost-effective, but we as a local community cannot float another $2 million, $15 million, or $75 million for another debris project. And so many of you are choosing to utilize Army Corps of Engineers because that resolves the cash flow issue. We've recognized that, and within the next week and a half, we'll be rolling out an additional option for communities to be able to partner with the state, to be able to do debris management on the state's dollar. We will work through the reimbursement process. We will help manage the contractors under your direction, but make sure that we can take that cash flow process off of your shoulders where we can to continue the progress, but make sure that we get the debris picked up. So we look forward to providing those details in the coming weeks. As we move on to another key topic, which we've already talked about this morning, is private roads and bridges. We're exceptionally excited about the $100 million that we're able to start utilizing in the private road and bridge program. We know that that is a down payment to the program. We started to take interest applications about 2.5 weeks ago, and as of this morning, we had over 2,000 interest applications for private roads and bridges in Western North Carolina. Next week, a program firm will be able to start assessing those interest applications, bundling them, and identifying them based on complexity and based on the prioritization that the General Assembly put forward in the bill. And then the next step for us will be reaching out to each county and each city and saying, these are the bridges in your jurisdiction. This is the prioritization based under general statute, but what's your priority? What is your need from the local government? What do you know? You know your unmet needs of your communities better than we do, and so we look forward to partnering with each of you as we identify how do we prioritize these bridges in batches to be able to get them done as quickly as we possibly can, meeting the needs of your residents and your infrastructure and supporting the ongoing recovery in North Carolina in the private road and bridge process. We also recognize that we received a $10 million grant for VOADS to be able to continue the rebuilding of unmet needs challenges in Western North Carolina. That notice of funding opportunity should be released at the end of next week, so our voluntary agencies are able to start applying and accessing that money as soon as possible to be able to continue to make repairs on homes and other areas where they are making a real difference while we work on standing up some of the larger programs through CDBG-DR and the other programs that the state government is putting forward. And finally, we are continuing to prioritize the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program to support elevations and acquisitions where we possibly can. That program has historically and traditionally been an exceptionally